Diablo 4 crossed $600 million of revenue within the first 5 days on the market. This has made Diablo 4 the fastest selling game of all time for its developer and publisher, Blizzard, making it also more popular than the previous installments in the Diablo series, reeling in many new players to the ARPG genre altogether. While reception for the game has been, all things considered, generally positive since launch, recently players of the game have increasingly become more negative and less fond of Diablo 4. This is partly a result of more and more players reaching endgame, which in its current state has some problems that we will discuss in this video, but for some also the realization that Diablo 4 is an ARPG that draws its long-term existence through seasonal content backed by the idea that you make a new character every season. Rod Ferguson, whom oversees the Diablo franchise, confirmed this as well in a tweet. Responses to the tweet were very mixed. For players familiar with previous Diablo games and the ARPG genre, it wasn't anything new. This seemed like obvious news as they have experienced similar systems in the previous installments of the franchise. But for the hordes of new players that the game has drawn, it did. Many couldn't even believe that such a mechanic exists in the first place or that it is in this game. Some responses to Rod's tweet went then as following. Gotta be honest, as a new player, I don't see myself grinding like this again. If I have to start from scratch for Season 1, I'm likely done maining Diablo, and I know there's a ton of people in the same boat. I care about my current character. I just say it if I lost him. This is not going to resonate well with a lot of the more casual players. You're turning off a large percentage of the player base. Why did I even start playing then? I should have waited for Season 1 to start first. What a scam. I have zero desire to start over again if it means my character keeps becoming useless. Well, it was a cool few weeks. Diablo is a great game. Unfortunately, developers refused to make a better seasonal system, so this game has officially died for no reason other than developers like torturing players. Cool, so cool. I hope the game sees a huge dip to force developers to change this. And many more similar type of responses could be found in the thread. As you see, tension would raise as a result of Rod's tweets, and it led to many outlets covering the conversations that took place on Twitter and informing everybody that Blizzard confirms the need to create a new character every Diablo 4 season, which in turn was mocked by veteran players since this seemed like it was stating the obvious, which in turn led to more heated discussions about seasons in Diablo 4 in other places, making the subject of seasons a trending topic for the past few days. The main argument from players that don't like the seasonal system can be summarized as following. If every few months my character, and with that all my time and effort, becomes completely obsolete, then what's the point of even playing? While players that are familiar with seasonal content and in fact enjoy seasons respond to that it's all about the journey of leveling, gearing, and making your character stronger and trying out new builds and playstyles. As you see, there's a disconnect between the two different types of players. But to really understand why such a divide has transpired in the first place, we need to understand how seasons work. How seasonal content works is that every season you create a new character to experience the season-specific content of the current season that is taking place. The seasons will introduce new quests and lore, but also specific season-bound concepts and ideas that can change the way you level, your gear, and the abilities that you have. Generally speaking, these season-specific mechanics can, for example, lead to a faster leveling process or a way that makes you more overpowered than is possible in the base game. Aside from the season-specific content, there's also a Diablo 4 Battle Pass, which is tied to these seasons. The Battle Pass can be progressed by playing the seasons. The free portion of the Battle Pass can give you in-game advantages, and the paid portion of the Battle Pass will in turn earn you cosmetic items and things of that nature. Your old characters do not get deleted every time you start playing a new season, which seems to be a common misconception currently. Instead, they will go to the Eternal Realm, which is also the realm that currently all our characters are on. You can still play your old characters anytime in any way you want if you wish, but just not with the new seasonal content. While not having your old characters deleted is a sign of relief for a portion of the player base that oppose the idea of seasons, there's obviously still the overarching argument that making new characters every season in order for you to experience new content still technically kills off your previous characters because you simply just can't use them to experience the new content. On the other hand, new seasons can be a good reason to try out a different class, try out new builds, and play in a different way as a result of the season-specific content. Generally, season-specific content is meant to be a refresher with some kind of twist to the gameplay loop, as at some point you have done everything anyways regarding the base game, so this twist is meant to give you a fundamentally new gameplay experience. All in all, you could say that the divide is caused by two fundamentally different types of players. Those that are attached to their character, of which obviously the idea of making a new character every few months isn't going to resonate well with, compared to those that are attached to the journey rather, and essentially are what was previously the dedicated Diablo 3 player base, so in a sense these will be the core players that keep the game alive. However, Blizzard had a much more aggressive campaign of promoting the game compared to previous games, even endorsing companies like KFC and mainstream celebrities to promote the game. And that is good because Diablo 4 also caters to this new population of gamers, as it's a very welcoming game and not overly complicated to get into. Thus, it's only logical that the game draws an entire new population of gamers that have never played an ARPG before, leading into these new types of clashes between different types of players. The problems that some people have with seasons might be exacerbated by current problems plaguing Diablo 4 and the general state of endgame. Which brings me to the next point, problems with endgame. The specific portion of leveling that has been described as bland and even tedious by the community has mostly been the leveling experience from level 70 to level 100, give or take. At level 70 you will most likely have World Tier 4 unlocked, and there's not really much to look forward to between level 70 and level 100. The problem is really as simple as that. At level 100 you obviously have Uber Lilith, but those 30 levels between 70 and 100, which do take a significant time to level compared to the first 70 levels, is essentially just a mindless grind with nothing really that hypes you up. Some elements that might contribute to Diablo 4 endgame not feeling meaningful might be that there is no real reason to push high Nightmare Dungeon tiers when leveling or even at level 100, as there is no reward structure implemented that rewards you for reaching said high tiers in the first place. Then you can also get a lot of your desired gear that is the best for your build specifically, or almost the very best, at a relatively low level. Really, the moment you unlock World Tier 4, so that could be as early as level 70 to say level 75, which makes the gearing process pretty mundane as well in that 70 to 100 bracket. When you have already good ancestral gear with your desired stats while you're like level 75, what are you going to be looking forward to in the next 25 levels? Upgrades to your already good gear just boils down to small percentages of increases to your stats. It is not exciting. Ultimately, this problem is the result of the loot tables being just too random. You getting that perfect ring that makes you never look again at another ring from a random easy weak mob that you killed at like level 70 shouldn't be a thing if you want to keep itemization interesting from level 70 to level 100. At the same time, the current loot tables don't reward you for doing more difficult content. That enemy that one-shots you in a Nightmare Dungeon isn't more interesting loot-wise than a random enemy that you one-shot. And yes, there are really good chase items that you can grind for, but they are so rare that you will never see them anyways. What you also won't see is you becoming truly powerful, as you getting stronger is offset by the enemies that scale with you as you level, naturally thanks to how scaling works in this game. Not to mention that classes are not balanced. Some classes only have one viable endgame build while others have multiple. And then the build diversity for these classes in itself is also just too sparse. You will see that a lot of players are catering to one specific build style for their class, and the numbers do reflect that. So there's also a discrepancy to be found there in regards to class balance. What isn't balanced either is the need to do the renowned grind every single season, which many players have been vocal about, and generally the renowned grind has been described as tedious and egregious, but thankfully we can cut down a bit on the renowned grind as you don't have to do all of it. For example, the altars of Lilith are permanently unlocked once you get them, and they will also stay active for your new characters, so it could be something to work on if you haven't unlocked them yet. The altars of Lilith provide individually small bonuses, but if you unlock all 160 of them, then cumulatively speaking these altars will provide you extra useful stats for your character that can, for example, help out in getting paragon requirements of rare nodes, as well as provide you a nice boost for any new character. And the map will also stay uncovered once you have explored all of it for all your future characters. So while there's a significant portion of the renown that you will have to do every single season at this point in time, these two elements have been confirmed to transfer over to new characters, and with that make the renowned grind a bit less tedious. Is it enough to fulfill the player base regarding the renowned grind altogether, knowing that you will, for instance, still have to do a bunch of side quests scattered all over the map every season? Well, opinions on that vary, but this is currently the state of the renowned grind. Now, while the last few minutes might sound a bit pessimistic, the good news, however, is that everything I just mentioned can be fixed relatively easily. I will be giving some examples that I think that personally could work out. Nightmare dungeons can get much better loot and rewards by fixing the loot tables. Classes can be balanced by tweaking numbers. Obviously that is a gross simplification, but balancing and new playstyles emerging happens all the time in these type of games. New content gated behind higher levels, or even World Tier 5, which apparently clues for existing have been data mined, can be introduced at say level 85, which can be an incentive to keep leveling and make that leveling process from level 70 to 100 more fun, as there will be something to actually look forward to halfway in that leveling bracket. That would then also make gearing more exciting again between 70 and 100, as a new world tier means that we can obtain a new type of gear that is an upgrade to the best gear that we currently already can obtain as low as say level 70. Regarding scaling, the solution here might be from the player instead of a complete overhaul of the current system. The Paragon boards hold a lot of power that you will notice as you get into very high level brackets. There are a bunch of these types of nodes that increase your power multiplicatively, and getting multiplicative increases as indicated by the X in the end game is a huge source of power, which is kinda ironic as it can mean that World Tier 4 can in fact actually feel easier than say World Tier 2, as for those that are leveling in low levels you will notice more of the scaling as you can get these type of power increases from the Paragon boards. All in all, I think two current main aspects that is making the community mad can be tied together. If leveling in itself becomes more fun and the problems with the game are worked on as the highest priority, then that could mean that there will also be generally less problems with the idea of restarting every season for both seasoned as well as new players. If leveling is fun and something to look forward to, then generally speaking, more and more people will be willing to do it every season. If leveling is tedious and boring, then why would you want to level once, let alone every season? The developers have announced that big balance patches are coming, which can be the start of a positive trend of the game becoming better and better. If the developers listen to the variety of complaints, continue to improve the game across the board, then that could only mean that we're currently playing the worst version of Diablo 4. All in all, we should probably wait longer before we draw major conclusions about Diablo 4. Being optimistic, however, is not a bad idea at all, considering it's not just a coincidence that the game reached its current popularity in the first place.